Deep in the cold void of space, where stars flickered like distant campfires, humanity faced its greatest challenge yet. The Galactic Council had laughed when Earth's ambassadors presented their fleet for the first time, a collection of ships that seemed almost toy-like compared to the massive dreadnoughts of other species. What are these? Vessels for your younglings. The Zrelaxian representative had sneered, their crystalline form gleaming with mockery. But they didn't know. None of them knew what humans could do. I remember standing on the observation deck of the Earth Defense Force headquarters, watching our tiny fleet prepare for departure. The ships, sleek and compact, represented decades of human innovation and determination. While other species built their vessels bigger and bulkier, we had learned to do more with less, a lesson carved into our DNA through centuries of adaptation and survival on our ever-challenging homeworld. The threat came without warning. The Drachnid Empire, having conquered 3 sectors in the past solar cycle, turned their hungry eyes toward Earth. Their ambassador's message was simple: surrender or be destroyed. They expected us to cower, to bow our heads and accept their rule like so many others had done before. But that's not what we did. That's not what humans do. They think size is everything, Admiral Chen said, her weathered face reflecting the soft blue glow of the tactical displays. Let them think that. Our advantage isn't in our ship's size. It's in here. She tapped her temple, a slight smile playing across her face. That smile carried the weight of countless simulations, endless strategic planning, and the unshakable confidence of someone who knew something others didn't. Our fleet moved like a school of fish, each vessel perfectly synchronized with its neighbors. The enemy's massive ships, each one larger than a small city, lumbered through space like prehistoric beasts. They were impressive, yes, terrifying even, but they were also predictable, rigid, and most importantly, they underestimated us. The first battle was about to begin. Earth's fleet, dismissed as insignificant by the Galactic Council, faced off against the Drachnid Armada. The size difference was almost comical, like comparing a swarm of honeybees to a group of bears. But anyone who knows nature understands that size isn't everything. Sometimes, the smallest creatures prove to be the most formidable. As the enemy fleet approached, I couldn't help but think about all of human history, how we'd always been the underdogs, how we'd always found a way to survive and thrive against overwhelming odds. From the first time our ancestors picked up tools to the moment we reached for the stars, humanity had always pushed beyond its perceived limitations. The tactical display showed the Drachnid ships moving into attack formation. Their confidence was obvious in their loose, almost casual arrangement. Why wouldn't they be confident? Their smallest vessel was larger than our biggest ship, but as I watched our fleet take position, I saw something they didn't: the culmination of human ingenuity, determination, and our unique ability to turn disadvantages into strengths. All ships, battle stations. Admiral Chen's voice rang clear through the command center. Remember your training. Remember who we are. Remember Earth. The enemy's first volley of weapons fire lit up space like artificial supernovas. Through the chaos and brilliant flashes, our tiny fleet began to move. What happened next would change the galaxy's perception of humanity forever. But that's when the real story begins, the story of how humanity's tiny fleet showed the galaxy that sometimes the biggest surprises come in the smallest packages. As the battle unfolded, a truth as old as warfare itself emerged. It's not the size of the fleet in the fight, but the fight and the intelligence in the fleet that matters. The first indication that something was different about our strategy came when the Drachnid's massive energy weapons tore through empty space. Our ships, moving with unprecedented precision, had already shifted positions microseconds before the attack. Years of combat simulations and neural-linked pilot training had prepared us for this moment. Each human vessel moved like an extension of its pilot's own body, quick, instinctive, and unpredictable. Fascinating, muttered Commander Zhang beside me, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. They're still fighting like it's a traditional space battle. He was right. The Drachnids were using centuries-old combat formations, treating space warfare like ancient naval battles. But space isn't an ocean, and our ships weren't bound by the same rules as seafaring vessels. The next few minutes demonstrated exactly why size had become our advantage. Our smaller ships required less energy to maneuver, less time to change direction, and presented smaller targets. The massive Drachnid vessels, for all their firepower, couldn't track our rapid movements. Their targeting systems, designed for large-scale warfare, struggled to lock onto our nimble craft. "Execute Formation Delta," Admiral Chen commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding before us. Our fleet split into 3 groups, each moving in patterns that seemed random to the untrained eye. But there was nothing random about it. We were executing maneuvers based on complex mathematical models, developed through years of studying everything from insect swarms to quantum particle behavior. The Drachnid commanders' frustration became evident in their increasingly erratic attacks. Their massive ships began firing wildly, hoping to hit something, anything, in the deadly dance our vessels were performing around them. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes lit up space like a deadly lightning storm, but our ships weaved through the bombardment with almost supernatural precision. "They're burning through their energy reserves," Admiral Chen observed, a hint of satisfaction in her voice. Exactly as predicted, the Drachnid's oversized weapon systems required enormous power that was quickly being depleted in their desperate attempt to hit our elusive fleet. What happened next demonstrated why humanity had survived countless challenges throughout our history. As the enemy's massive ships began to slow, their energy reserves dropping to critical levels, our fleet initiated the next phase of the battle plan. Small groups of our ships began darting in closer to the Drachnid vessels, probing their defenses, testing their response times. The enemy's confusion was palpable. Their communications, which our systems could partially intercept, became increasingly frantic. They had never encountered this type of warfare before. Their massive ships, designed to intimidate through sheer size and power, were being systematically exposed for what they really were: dinosaurs facing a swarm of clever, coordinated mammals. "Sir," one of the tactical officers called out, "we're detecting power fluctuations in their primary vessels. Their shield systems are starting to fail." This was the moment we had been waiting for, but victory wasn't assured yet. The Drachnids were wounded, yes, but wounded predators are often the most dangerous. As I watched the battle unfold, I couldn't help but think about Earth's history, how our ancestors had survived ice ages, natural disasters, and countless challenges by adapting and innovating. Now, facing alien threats in the vast expanse of space, we were doing what humans had always done, turning our apparent weaknesses into strengths. Admiral Chen leaned forward, her eyes narrowing as she studied the tactical display. The enemy fleet was regrouping, forming a defensive circle that signaled they were preparing for something big. Whatever they were planning, it was clear this battle was far from over. The next few moments would determine not just the outcome of this engagement, but potentially the future of humanity among the stars. The Drachnid defensive circle began to pulse with an ominous purple glow. Their ships, massive shadows against the starfield, were channeling their remaining power into something we hadn't seen before. The energy readings were off the charts, causing our sensors to flash warning after warning. "All ships, maintain distance," Admiral Chen ordered, her voice carrying an edge I hadn't heard before. "Something's not right." Our fleet pulled back, maintaining its coordinated dance, but at a safer range. Years of space exploration had taught us that unknown energy signatures usually meant trouble. Through the command center's windows, I could see the purple glow intensifying, spreading like a web between the Drachnid vessels. The tactical display showed their power cores operating well beyond safe levels. They were either desperate or confident. Neither option was comforting. "Admiral," Commander Zhang called out, his fingers flying over the sensor controls. "They're linking their ship's power systems together. It's some kind of unified energy grid." This was new. None of our intelligence reports had mentioned this capability. The Drachnids had kept this technology hidden, saving it for when they needed it most. Our fleet's synchronized movements suddenly faltered as waves of energy began rippling through space. The purple web was generating some kind of interference field, disrupting our neural link systems. The elegant dance of our ships became slightly erratic, like a group of dancers struggling to hear their music. "They're trying to force us to fight on their terms," Admiral Chen muttered, more to herself than anyone else. She stood up, her weathered hands gripping the command rail. "Switch to backup control systems. Pattern Omega-7. Our ships began shifting formation again, but slower now, more deliberately. We were adapting, but so were they. The Drachnid fleet's energy web continued to expand, creating a sphere of purple-tinted space that grew larger by the second. Any of our ships that ventured too close began experiencing power fluctuations. It was like watching a giant spider web being spun in space, with our fleet as the intended prey. "Analysis complete," one of the science officers announced, her voice tense. "They're creating a localized space-time distortion field. If it reaches full power," she didn't need to finish. We all knew what artificial distortions in space-time could do to a ship and its crew. The command center fell silent except for the steady beeping of sensor equipment. Decades of human scientific advancement, countless hours of training, and all our tactical innovations had led us to this moment. The Drachnids thought they had cornered us, forced us to face the true might of their technological superiority. But there was something they hadn't counted on, something that had always set humans apart from other species. Throughout our history, we had faced extinction-level events, devastating wars, and countless disasters. Each time, we had survived not just through technology or strength, but through our ability to think differently when backed into a corner. Admiral Chen's expression changed subtly, the same look I'd seen in historical footage of great military leaders just before they turned the tide of battle. She keyed in a series of commands, bringing up a new tactical display that showed something I didn't immediately understand. "Send the signal," she ordered, her voice carrying the weight of certainty. "All ships, prepare for maneuver, Aurora." Around the command center, officers exchanged knowing looks. Whatever maneuver Aurora was, it hadn't been in any of the standard briefings. As the purple energy web reached its critical point, threatening to engulf our entire fleet, I realized we were about to witness either humanity's greatest military innovation or our most spectacular defeat. The next few moments would determine which, and the galaxy would never forget what happened next. The first sign that Maneuver Aurora wasn't a standard military tactic came when our fleet's engines suddenly went dark. Every single human vessel powered down simultaneously, appearing dead in space. The command center's tactical display showed our ships drifting, seemingly helpless before the expanding purple web of Drachnid energy. "Admiral," Commander Zhang's voice carried a note of controlled panic. "The Drachnids are broadcasting victory declarations across all frequencies." Indeed, the enemy's confidence was clear in their movements. Their massive ships began spreading out, preparing to ensnare what they thought was our disabled fleet. But Admiral Chen's slight smile told a different story. "Let them think they've won," she said quietly. "Humanity has always been underestimated. It's time they learned why that's a mistake." She nodded to her communications officer. "Send the second signal." What happened next defied everything we thought we knew about space warfare. The seemingly dead human ships began to emit a faint blue glow, not from their engines, but from their hulls. Years of secret research had gone into this moment. While other species focused on building bigger weapons and stronger shields, we had been developing something entirely different. "Quantum resonance field activated," reported the science officer, her voice steady despite the unprecedented nature of what we were attempting. "Field synchronization at 87% and climbing." The blue glow intensified, creating patterns that seemed to ripple through space itself. The Drachnids noticed too late. Their energy web, designed to disrupt conventional systems, began to fluctuate wildly where it contacted our ship's blue fields. It was like watching oil and water interact, two forces that fundamentally couldn't mix. "They're not just ships anymore," Admiral Chen explained, her eyes fixed on the spectacle before us. "They're quantum anchors, using the very fabric of space-time against their own weapon. This was humanity's true secret. We hadn't built better ships or stronger weapons. We changed the rules of the game entirely. But victory wasn't assured yet. Just as our quantum fields began to destabilize the Drachnid's energy web, their flagship did something unexpected. Its massive form began to split apart, revealing layers of hidden technology that our intelligence had never detected. The vessel was transforming, reconfiguring itself into something our simulations had never accounted for. "New energy signature detected," called out Commander Zhang, his voice tense. "It's unlike anything we've ever seen. They're channeling power directly from somewhere else. The readings were impossible, energy levels that shouldn't exist in our universe." Admiral Chen's expression hardened. "They've been holding back too," she realized. "This isn't just a battle anymore. It's a race to see who can rewrite the laws of physics faster." The stakes had just risen exponentially. This wasn't just about defending Earth anymore. It was about determining the future of warfare itself. Our fleet's quantum fields began pulsing in a complex pattern, responding to the new threat. But the Drachnid flagship's transformation continued, its form becoming increasingly alien and incomprehensible. The other Drachnid ships began to align with their flagship, creating a geometric pattern that seemed to hurt the eyes if you looked at it too long. "Whatever they're doing," the science officer reported, "it's creating ripples in multiple dimensions. Our quantum fields weren't designed for this." The blue glow around our ships started flickering, struggling to maintain coherence against this new form of attack. Admiral Chen's hands tightened on the command rail. "They think they're the only ones with backup plans," she said, her voice carrying a hint of something I'd never heard before. Not fear, but a kind of fierce pride. "Show them why humans never put all their eggs in one basket. Execute contingency protocol Phoenix." As she spoke those words, deep in the heart of our fleet, something began to wake up, something that represented humanity's absolute last resort. The question was, would it be enough to counter whatever impossible weapon the Drachnids were about to unleash? The battle had evolved beyond tactics and technology. It had become a test of which species could push the boundaries of reality further without breaking them entirely. And somewhere in that chaos, humanity's true strength was about to be revealed. Protocol Phoenix revealed itself in a way none of us expected. Rather than a new weapon or advanced technology, the heart of our fleet began to resonate with a pure, white light that seemed to draw power from the void itself. The quantum fields surrounding our ships didn't just hold steady, they started to sing. "It's working," Admiral Chen breathed, her eyes reflecting the brilliant display. "The quantum harmonic resonance is stabilizing." What the enemy didn't know, what no one outside Earth's deepest research facilities knew, was that we had learned to tap into something far more fundamental than dimensional energy. We had learned to harness the very rhythm of space-time itself. The Drachnid flagship's transformation faltered as the harmonic waves reached it. Their impossible geometry began to waver, like a mirage in desert heat. Commander Zhang's sensors were going haywire, trying to make sense of what was happening. "The dimensional ripples," he reported, "they're synchronizing with our frequency." That's when we understood the true genius of Admiral Chen's strategy. Protocol Phoenix wasn't a weapon. It was an invitation. The quantum harmonics weren't fighting against the Drachnid's extra-dimensional energy. They were merging with it, guiding it, like a skilled dancer leading their partner. "All ships, maintain formation," Admiral Chen commanded. "Let the resonance build naturally." Our fleet's formation shifted slightly, creating a pattern that mirrored the Drachnid's geometric arrangement. The white light pulsed in perfect rhythm with the purple energy web, creating something entirely new in the space between our forces. The Drachnid flagship tried to resist, its transformed structure straining against the harmonic pattern. But you can't fight universal constants, something humans had learned through countless centuries of scientific discovery. The more they struggled, the more their own energy synchronized with ours. "They're sending a transmission," the communications officer announced. The message was clear. The Drachnids were asking for cessation of hostilities. Not surrender, they were too proud for that, but something possibly more valuable: recognition. Admiral Chen's response was immediate. "Accept their request for parley." She turned to address the command center crew. "This is why we win. Not because we're stronger or more advanced, but because we understand something fundamental about the universe. Everything is connected, even our enemies, if we're willing to look past the surface." As the white light and purple energy stabilized into a peaceful equilibrium, the Drachnid flagship began returning to its original form. Our quantum harmonics gently guided their dimensional energy back to normal space-time, like helping someone find their way home in the dark. But just as victory seemed assured, our sensors detected something unexpected. The harmonic resonance had opened a window to somewhere else, or perhaps someone else. Through the quantum fields, we caught glimpses of other battles, other fleets, other versions of ourselves fighting similar battles across countless realities. "Sir," Commander Zhang called out, his voice urgent. "The quantum window, it's showing us something." On the main display, we saw images of future conflicts, greater challenges that lay ahead. The Drachnids weren't our last test. They were our first. The galaxy was far stranger and more dangerous than we had imagined. Admiral Chen stood tall, her expression resolute. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "Tell them we've won this battle, but we've also learned something vital. The universe is inviting us to dance, and humanity needs to learn some new steps." As our fleet disengaged its quantum fields and the Drachnid ships settled into a peaceful formation, I realized that this wasn't just a victory, it was an awakening. We had proven ourselves not just as warriors, but as pioneers of a new way of thinking about space, time, and conflict itself. The tiny fleet that had once been mocked now commanded respect, not through force but through innovation and understanding. As we prepared to escort the Drachnid ships to the nearest neutral space station for formal peace talks, I couldn't help but wonder what other impossible challenges awaited us among the stars, and more importantly, how would humanity's unique perspective help us face them? 3 months after the battle that changed galactic warfare forever, I stood with Admiral Chen in the newly constructed Harmony Chamber of the Galactic Council. The room's design reflected the lessons learned from our encounter, curved walls displaying real-time quantum harmonics from across known space, a constant reminder of the interconnected nature of reality. "They still don't fully understand what happened that day," Admiral Chen mused, watching as representatives from various species filed in for the session. The Drachnid delegation, now our strongest allies in promoting quantum harmonic research, took their seats near Earth's section. Their ships, once symbols of brute force, had been modified to incorporate harmonic resonance technology. The changes went far beyond military applications. Our discovery of quantum harmonics had revolutionized everything from space travel to communication. The tiny fleet that had been mocked now served as a template for a new generation of vessels, ships that worked with the fabric of space-time rather than against it. "We've received another report from the Quantum Window Monitoring Station," Commander Zhang announced, joining us at the observation platform. "They're detecting increased activity across multiple realities. Whatever's out there, it's getting closer." The glimpses of future challenges we'd seen during the battle hadn't been a one-time occurrence. The universe was trying to tell us something. But humanity wasn't facing these challenges alone anymore. The Drachnid incident had taught the galaxy a valuable lesson about underestimating species based on size or apparent technological advancement. Earth's approach to problem-solving, our ability to think differently and adapt, had earned us a unique position in galactic affairs. "The Quantum Harmonics program is expanding faster than we anticipated," Admiral Chen said, reviewing the latest reports on her data pad. 17 species have already successfully integrated the technology with their own unique approaches. The galaxy is learning to sing together. She smiled slightly at the metaphor. The council chamber hummed with activity as the session began. On the agenda, the establishment of the first Quantum Harmonic Academy, where species from across the galaxy would learn not just about the technology, but about the importance of perspective and adaptation. Earth would lead the teaching initiative, sharing not just our technical knowledge, but our history of overcoming challenges through innovation. There's something poetic about it, I reflected, watching the various species interact. We started this journey trying to prove our worth through combat, but we ended up proving it through understanding instead. The Admiral nodded in agreement, her expression thoughtful. As the council session progressed, I couldn't help but think about the future challenges we glimpsed. The quantum windows were showing increased activity, suggesting that greater tests lay ahead, but we weren't the same civilization that had nervously presented our tiny fleet to the galaxy. We were stronger now, not just in technology, but in wisdom and allies. The Dracid ambassador caught my eye from across the chamber and nodded respectfully. Their species had changed too, moving away from their obsession with size and power. Together, we were preparing for whatever the universe had in store for us next. Admiral Chen turned to leave the observation platform, but paused for a moment. "You know what the real victory was?" she asked, looking out at the assembled representatives of countless worlds. "We didn't just prove that humanity belonged among the stars. We proved that the galaxy is stronger when we work together, when we combine our different perspectives and approaches." As I watched the quantum harmonic displays pulse with the combined energy of 1,000 worlds, I realized she was right. The story of humanity's tiny fleet hadn't just changed how the galaxy viewed us. It had changed how the galaxy viewed itself. And somewhere out there, across the quantum windows into other realities, I knew other civilizations were learning the same lesson. The future remained uncertain, full of challenges we could barely imagine. But we faced it together, armed with the knowledge that sometimes the biggest changes come from the smallest beginnings. And that, perhaps, was the greatest lesson of all.